And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Malcolm Andrew, who asked the question, who would win a fight, Doctor Strange or Infinite Zamasu? Now, let's start with Zamasu first. There is a distinct difference between Infinite and Merged Zamasu. Merged Zamasu is obviously the fusion of Goku Black and Immortal Zamasu, turning into the, white-haired Saiyan version of Zamasu. That Zamasu was strong enough to kind of bitch smack Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and Goku around, even with the Kaioken, and including Trunks. Granted, they were able to overwhelm some of his attacks. Goku pulled off a Kaioken and kind of messed them up for a minor amount of time, but it took the likes of Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta to really mess him up. And we don't know ultimately how that fight would have gone down overall. But it's implied that if Vegeta had probably had more time, he could have beaten that version of Zamasu. But they ran the time down. Also, Merged Zamasu did not have a truly immortal body, as he merged with a non-immortal being, which affected the immortality. And then was ultimately torn apart by Trunks' I still don't know exactly what that attack was. But the spirit bomb sword thing, I'm not 100% sure what that was. I could look it up, but whatever. But upon his defeat, his essence ultimately merged not with the world, not with the universe, but with the entire timeline he was in itself, creating Infinite Zamasu. And the only way to beat that version of Zamasu that we saw anyway was to erase the entirety of the universe, timeline, and everything in between. So, is Doctor Strange strong enough to be a Infinite Zamasu? Well, Doctor Strange is plenty damn powerful. We're talking about an individual who can warp reality on a whim because he's the Sorcerer Supreme by all standards. He can pop supernovas like Tic Tacs. The ultimate question simply is he a universe buster? I'm getting Doctor Strange feats. Let's do feats here, because that's probably the feats. And I'm going to pull up some of his feats right now so I can reference that specifically. Let's see. Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme. Okay. Is there any? Okay, I've got nothing here. So even though that was something that was okay, try those feats. So some of his attack pose includes somewhat matching Dormammu, somewhat matching Dormammu. Dormammu in his first form was capable of tearing Eternity apart and disintegrating. And mind you, Eternity is not just made of the regular mortal universe. God, I hate ads. My constant, that should be a shirt. God, I hate ads. Eternity is not just made up of the irregular mortal universe, but multiple infinite-sized demon universes, further endless Vishanti universes as well. And Doctor Strange was somewhat able to match him. Momentarily merged with Eternity and began feeling and comprehending more than 4 dimensions. Great, that doesn't mean anything in this fight. Fights Umar, who was further empowered on Earth with Dormammu's power, and evenly defeats Nightmare. The implication here is that he can match, power-wise, whatever spell he's using, universe-destroying individuals like a Dormammu, to a certain degree without any amp. This says a big thing about his level of power, is that he is not truly a multiversal level threat with Doctor Strange, at least not in terms of his raw power. What would probably make him a multiversal level threat is a combination of the level of power he does possess, which is still very great, and his intellect and how he utilizes it. But he can match to minor levels. He can match multiversal level threats like a Dormammu. So, this ultimately now begs the question, does he have a spell that could beat an infinite being merged with a universe? And unless, say, he were to rewind time universally, do universal like time warp more or less to somehow fuse this or infinite Zamasu back to his former state of at minimum merge Zamasu, if not unfuse them both to Goku Black and Zamasu, then I don't think he has any way of beating this version of the Zamasu. He can't seal the universe away technically. He can seal moments of time away, individuals. Hell, if we go by Marvel What If, the series, he was able to contain the Watcher more or less contained both Zoltron, we'll call him, Zola Ultron, and Killmonger, in that little pocket, and Strange Supreme was able to hold them and contain them and look after them. Plus, he survived the collapse of his entire universe down on him. So it depends on the level of power. I mean, just to list a couple of things he's done for miscellaneous things, which would probably fall more into this category. He can possess beings with his spirit form. He can control minds. The Eye of Agamotto swallows up evil magic and reduces it to nothing. Prevents himself from fading into nothingness. Overpowers Zom's spell from turning him into a militant. I have no idea what that is. Can send astral forms back in time. Can mess with circular mechanics. Resist overpowers Umar's telepathic attack. Made a chain that stretched across a universe from pure thought, because why not? That's literally what it says here. Third Eye can reach into one's consciousness and play with their memories. He can stop time. Cleanse bodies of poison mist. Cannot be turned into a two-dimensional being. Compress time and change molecules. Face conceptual beings from the Omniverse. Heard a man scream from a universe away. Resists having his essence sucked into Cthulhu's after becoming one with him. Freezes things in place. Can channel attacks from stronger beings. Resists having fear and grief manipulated. The Eye of Agamotto moves his will. Creates physical illusions. So he's got so much time manipulation. He can resist the Mind Gem. That's no small feat. He has passive magic shields that are just around him. Creates a mystical aura that nullifies death magic. Reveals true nature of beings. Sends signals across the multiverse. Can create a cocoon with psychic energy to defend itself from soul-devouring entities. And that's just... I didn't even list everything. So, Doctor Strange, I think, has enough... because the only thing I can think of right here is you have to be either existence erasure like what Zeno did, which I don't think Strange can do that on a level of a universe like this, even if he can do it. But time manipulation and maybe somehow rewinding Zamasu back to his original form is, I think, on the table. And worst case scenario, Strange can move from it to a different multiverse, to a different dimension, to try to figure out something, a way to beat this character, this creature as he's become. So I think I would give it to Doctor Strange on the grounds that he has enough time manipulation abilities outside of a time stone, not from the MCU, where he can definitely cause some problems for Infinite Zamasu. If he can't revert him back to previous states that'd be more easily contained or defeated, he might then backtrack, go find an individual like a Zeno who can beat him, and then come back with that individual, and then Zeno wipes him out like he did before, and Doctor Strange thanks him and all that, and say, yeah, sure, funny Kate, man. So now you might say, well, that's Zeno killing him, not Strange. Yeah, but Strange's the one who went to get Zeno. Technically, Goku didn't beat him, Zeno beat him, but Goku's the one who called Zeno. So, technically, basically, use whatever means you have at your disposal, even if it means calling someone else in. And technically speaking, this would count as a win for Doctor Strange, because he's the last man standing in this. So, I would lean towards Doctor Strange, but Infinite Zamasu is such a weird conceptual being. I don't know. Who do you think would win in this fight? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks next time.